Hello, good afternoon, Rebecca.
Hey, Diana.
So today we're here with Rebecca Reynolds Moore, who will be one of the inspiring storytellers at our event coming up on October 21 and 22. So I wanted to share a little bit about Rebecca, and then I want to ask her to share a little bit of her insights and what has guided her and led to the way she's living and what she's doing in her third act. But first, I'll share a little bit of the past for Rebecca. She is a art historian turned entrepreneur. She founded her own VC-backed startup called museumshop.com in the 90s, before people knew you could buy stuff online. Thank you. She was the CEO, and this is the first actually online retailer to partner. She partnered with 70 different museums to sell and ship products direct to the consumer. So in that time, that was a great, beautifully innovative role. But alas, 9/11 hit, and she spent the next decade focusing on her kids, community leadership, and caring for her aging parents. Then, at the age of 53, she decided to re-enter the startup world and has taken all that she's learned, the good and the bad, and she coaches female founders to monetize their brilliance and to grow and scale their businesses. So thank you for being here and sharing your inspiring story, Rebecca.
Thank you, Diana. It's a privilege. Mhm.
Well, so let's start. The first thing I want to bring up, I mentioned that um, you've you started Museum Shop in the 90s, but where we met in the early 90s was through an organization called Businesses for Social Responsibility. And what that brings up to me, and is so important as have known you all these years, is that you have always been guided by and inspired to live a life on purpose, whether it be your personal life or your business life. And that's a very meaningful guiding light for your life. So share a little bit about, sort of this as your why and how this has guided you.
Well, I was never motivated by, money, just money or building an empire or some of the things that other people are motivated by. And I think that I've just always been interested in trying to figure out what I can contribute to the world and everyone else can contribute to the world.
Mm.
And I've just always been interested in that. And it's a lifelong pursuit. So, what I guess the reason I want to work with women entrepreneurs is because I've been there before. I know how hard it is to get off the ground and keep going. I know some of the things that are stacked against underserved founders. Women entrepreneurs who get venture funding represent about 2% of the funding. And,
Man.
and that has not changed in 20 years.
Wow.
Which is horrific. And if you're a Latina or other, not Caucasian like myself, it's even harder. So this is something that is important, especially now because we need women leaders who have cared for people. All right, I've been a mom, I've cared for my parents. The compassion that comes along with caring for others is an important, it's the missing link in our business today, I think. So I think it's paramount for women to gain the confidence and the self leadership and the financial backing to run their own businesses. That's just my philosophy. And so I work with founders. I'm kind of like, I was showing me, went to the Boston Red Sox the other night. Woohoo, the Sox. And I wore this today to remind myself to share the analogy of an athletic coach isn't out there on the field, right? So an entrepreneur coach, I'm not out there. I am on the sidelines, guiding you, coaching you, helping you, figure out, master your marketing and your mindset and your processes so that you can create the best conditions for success, right? So that's what I do. And I'm all about there are ways for each of us to monetize our own gifts and our own genius. And
Mm.
so that's that's what I hope to accelerate, and by providing perspective and um, examples of things that I've done wrong, and there have been many things.
You have been on the field, though. A coach that's also been on the field.
Definitely, I got a lot of bruises too, a lot of scars. So anyway, and my mantra is it's never too late to cultivate your purpose and make an impact. And so that's my mantra. And I hope that by doing this and starting my business after that hiatus and after running my own company when I was like scared shitless of starting again at this age, that I'm living proof that it's not too late to cultivate your purpose. So that's my challenge to everybody. And the thing that I'm finding, and you and I talk about this a lot, which is super cool, is that no path is ever wasted. And if we take the time to look at the breadcrumbs, like what are the common threads,
Mm.
um, it becomes more and more evident what you're really good at and what brings you joy. I always use the term "what blows your hair back," like what
Oh, I love
blows
that.
your
That's
hair
such a
back,
beautiful image, isn't it?
all of that.
If you
And
feel it, if you've discovered it, you know exactly what you mean, right?
exactly. So, and ultimately, um, I guess what drives me is that our world is can be looked at as a very scary place. And having three daughters who are entering the workforce and young adults, I really want. I think that our demographic, 50 on up, it's on us to provide the hope for our kids, and we're in dire need of some examples of hopefulness and possibilities and ingenuity. And yeah, so ultimately it's not about you Diana, or me Rebecca. I'm not trying to build up a this isn't about me. It's about moving the needle forward for the next generation. So that's what I'm about.
Let me just reflect on this a little bit because, as I mentioned at the outset of our conversation, it's clear that's been in your heart since the beginning of your career. In businesses for social responsibility was very innovative in the early 90s to try to integrate purpose with commerce, right? And so what I love is that mission for you imbue in the founders that you work with. You certainly want them to make a living and to profit and do well, but by helping them find their purpose, you're helping them shape companies that contribute in a different way, right?
I think the part of that is that if you're just if your only mission in running a business is to make money, I'm not interested in working with you,
Hmm.
because I think that um, I just think there's so much more to it, and that as a new entrepreneur, when you're creating something from nothing, if you don't have something you're really passionate about, it is very hard to weather the peaks and valleys. It's really hard. It's kind of like marriage. You fall in love with someone and you're going to have a lot of peaks and valleys, and you have to work at it, and you have to really, love that person to stick with it. Right. So, I mean, so yeah.
Well, your why is like this fuel, right? Once you figure out your purpose, it becomes your fuel, right?
Well, and I've actually just been reading a really good book. Is it okay if I share a quick book?
Yeah, I'd love it. Love it.
Stephen Copey, The Great Work of Your Life. And it's not, and it, I don't get any money for them. So I'm not gonna, but it goes through the stories of some incredible people like Harriet Tubman and Robert Frost, and a bunch of really incredible people who actually figured out what their dharma was, like what their calling was. And they managed to really eliminate all the other distractions and set up their life to follow that calling with like a singleness of purpose that was incredible. And once you do that, um, not you can master it and it can become more enjoyable and fruitful. So that's kind of the
Well, to put you on the spot here, but what's your advice based on those learnings and your own experience about what, it takes courage, well, what does it take once you've figured out your purpose to, as you say, eliminate all those distractions and keep yourself, fueled through the tough times that are inevitable with something new that you create? What do you think it takes?
I think the whole point is if it's something that's bigger than you, if your purpose is bigger than you, then you can eliminate fear. And one of the biggest barriers to forward movement is fear and then just, clutter of thoughts and focus. But if it's bigger than you and you're passionate about it, then you're gonna figure it out. It may not be in your lifetime, and
Mhm.
and you're not as focused as I learned in with my MBA. Results. All this. You're not as focused on the outcome in the daily outcome. You're focused in the process of doing what providing that service.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful role of inspiration you can play, in your business, which is in a nutshell consulting, which I love. I love that. Um, and the gift you provide of inspiration of your own philosophy that you can support people in. And I look forward for you to share in October. I'll just give a little teaser. We all have moments of inspiration, ahas, like, man, this is what I should be doing. So Rebecca will be sharing what she calls, I love this title, your minivan moment. So, I love it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And many people listening to your story, there people, women make all sorts of decisions, and there are a lot of people who decide, like you did, to focus on family and re-enter the workplace and struggle with confidence and things like this. So this will be very encouraging. Okay, so thank you for your sharing your insights. But before we leave, I want to ask you, and I think I know what it is, but if I were to ask you to create a bumper sticker that completely embodied your philosophy of life, what would it be?
Yeah, I think too. It's a phrase I use quite often, and it's never too late to cultivate your purpose. It's a long bumper sticker.
Well, it will definitely fit on most cars. So
Well, it
let's
might
make.
have to have a nutshell on it because the whole idea, and just very quickly, the whole idea of in a nutshell is that great philosophers have said this in so many different ways and so many different mediums, but basically your DNA seed is there, right?
Hmm.
And so you're complete, right? You're whole and complete. The DNA is within you. So you just have to find it and nourish it and
Beautiful.
turn yourself
Bravo.
into a mighty oak.
A mighty oak with beautiful leaves spreading out. So thank you so much. And I look forward to you sharing your story in October. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Diana. Bye.